till the midnight sky, burning high. Under blazing skies, we won't fall. In the electric neon night, we stand tall.
Blue flag, blue flag.
Welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst car since 2010, so you don't have to. In the often very desperate hunt for points, and it's round 15 of the 2015 season, the Russian Grand Prix at the Sochi Autodrome, and you join us off the back of an incredible result for McLaren in the last round in Japan. We managed to pick up points for the first time in this series at Suzuka, which moved us on to 50 points for the season. But it was Fernando Alonso taking third spot, thanks to the tyre glitch that we've had a couple of times this season, to propel himself onto the podium and hold off the competition. What a result for us it was. Nico Rosberg took more points off Lewis Hamilton, who had to butt back after a late pit stop, so he's 31 clear of his teammate with just a few rounds left. Then it's Vettel in third, Raikkonen in fourth, then it's Bottas, Massa, Ricciardo, Kvyat. Then it's us, Perez and Alonso, Hulkenberg, Maldonado, Sainz, Grosjean, Verstappen, Hazard and Ericsson, completing the point scorers with Mary and Stevens at the back with no points. While in the constructors, Mercedes lead the way, Ferrari starting to slip back as we get close to the end of the season. Williams on their own in third, but close enough to Ferrari to worry them, I guess. Red Bull in fourth on their own, then it's us in fifth. Just 24 clear of Force India, and it's Lotus, Toro Rosso, Sauber and Mana Marussia. And it's the second Russian Grand Prix. We were here last season for the first one, and we cost ourselves a result by getting the pit exit wrong, basically. We went in just a little bit too hot, a little bit too fast, outbroke ourselves, went across the runoff, and ended up costing ourselves a huge amount of time, losing positions and never really be having the pace to get it back. But Singapore and Japan both have been pretty good the last couple of rounds, and we're on a bit of a run. We've finally maybe worked out where we can and can't fight the AI. It's a pseudo street circuit around the former Winter Olympic Park, so there is always the possibility for shenanigans, but there's a lot of runoff. The barriers aren't all that close, and in all honesty, it's quite a fast, free-flowing circuit. It's a bit like Valencia used to be, and we were alright around there. It's a fun place to drive, even if the races in reality, for the most part, weren't very good. So maybe we can have another good race here. That's the hope. Anyway, there's a lot of high-speed sections in this car. Not very fast, not got a huge amount of pace, so we might struggle in bits. I'm hoping maybe not though, I'm hoping we can fight the rest of the field, but maybe we should go see just how much of a pace deficit there is. While we do, head around in practice, we'll talk about the real world 2015 Russian Grand Prix. Sochi returned for its second Russian Grand Prix as the former Winter Olympic Park greeted the teams and drivers. In accordance with the 5-race deal, Alexander Rossi handles Mana, Roberto Neri returns to the car for this race, as he would at Abu Dhabi, with Rossi driving the previous 2 rounds and the next 3.
Leave it with DRS when you reach the braking zone for 2. Make sure you don't lock up and skip the chicane.
The practice session was a disrupted affair after a diesel spillage between turns 7 and 8, with marshals cleaning the track with a large amount of water. When cars were able to run on the track, most used intermediate tyres, with Williams even going so far as using the full wets, though Bottas locked up and nearly spun at the entrance. By the end, the track was once again dry, with a flurry of activity. Nico topped the times, but it was Hulkenberg ahead of Rosberg with Vettel in third. The issues with water in the first practice, many were looking to get some meaningful running done in the second session, but persistent rain saw most opt to sit out the session with only 8 drivers setting lap times. They were headed by Massa, the Brazilian ahead of Vettel and Bottas. weekend. Teams were hoping for clean running in the final practice session after disrupted running on Friday, but their plans were curtailed with 25 minutes of the session left after Carlos Sainz made heavy contact with the barriers at turn 13. The damage was substantial enough to see the session ended early while the barriers were repaired. Rosberg was fastest, ahead of Bottas and Hamilton. Crash meant that he would take no part in qualifying, giving one of the usual right teams an opportunity to make it into Q2. In the end, both manners would drop out, with one Sauber and one McLaren. Ericsson and Alonso, the unlucky pair, to find themselves eliminated. Home fans were denied the top 10 spot for Kvyat after he found himself pipped in Q2 by Verstappen at the death. The Red Bull dropping out alongside Massa, who only managed 15th after encountering traffic, while complaining of a loss of their tyre grip. Nasa, Button and Maldonado also had participation in Q2. Q3 appeared to be a battle between the Mercedes pair once again, with track conditions improving. This should have benefited Hamilton, who was on track behind Rosberg, but he was unable to topple his teammate before running wide on his final runs, leaving Rosberg to take pole, the Mercedes pair locking out the front row once again. Bottas would line up third even after a poor end to his lap, pipping Vettel. Raikkonen also ran wide at turn 13, but would line up fifth ahead of Hülkenberg, Perez, Grosjean, Verstappen and Ricciardo. Rosberg made a good start from pole and held the lead into the opening couple of corners. Hamilton attempted to move on the outside of turn 2, but ran wide and immediately turned his attention to Raikkonen behind. But before the battle could begin, it was neutralised by an accident further back. Hülkenberg dropped his force in gear and was collected by Ericsson, the safety car nearly catching Hamilton out as he almost collected Rosberg. The safety car was on track with Rosberg still leading at the end of the lap for the first time since Austria. But then his race began to unravel as his throttle began to stick. Rosberg would begin to lift his leg off the pedal, impeding his ability to turn the car, before eventually heading into the pits, leaving Hamilton to seemingly edge ever closer to his third world title. Bottas made a likely restart, passing Raikkonen on a restart for third and chasing down Vettel for second. The chase would however be short-lived before the safety car made another appearance. Grosjean had tangled with Verstappen on lap 1 and had to pit, thinking he was making his way through the field when he arrived at the rear of Button's McLaren, the Brit falling through the pack after a storming start to 9th. Grosjean followed the Honda-powered car through turn 3, but a mix of the turbulent air and marbles off one saw the latest spear into the barrier. Second restart, Raikkonen moved ahead of Vettel after cutting turn 2, with the driver asking if he should cede the position, before deciding it was more prudent to give the spot back, while Hamilton immediately sat back running away at the front once again. Those that had pit under the safety car found themselves ahead of the early front runners, Bottas getting stuck behind Sainz, which allowed Vettel to move ahead of the Finn. Perez was circulating ahead of the pair, though Vettel would make short work of Force India. Bottas and Raikkonen would find themselves stuck behind Ricciardo as well as Perez, but the Australian state defence would come to an end with a suspension failure, allowing the two Finns and Perez to battle each other for third. It would take until the penultimate lap for Bottas to use DRS to full power his way past the Mexican ahead, opening the door for Raikkonen to also get by. It appeared that Perez's gentle coaxing of his tyres would not yield a podium finish, but Raikkonen attempted an opportunistic dive on Bottas on the final lap, with Ferrari sending the Williams into the barrier and allowing Perez to get back in front of them both. Raikkonen would cop a 30-second penalty for his trouble, which at least allowed the Williams to salvage fourth with the other car. Hamilton took the win and had one hand on the driver's title while Mercedes secured the constructors' crown. Vettel would take second place, some way ahead of Perez and Massa, while Kvyat, Massa, Maldonado, Raikkonen, Button and Verstappen would take the points. Verstappen claiming 10th after Alonso was hit with a 5-second penalty for cutting to at 16. Second visit to Sochi, can we keep up our points run? We were fighting in the points last season until a silly mistake went in pit lane, cost us a huge amount of time. This place, for all its critics, of which I, as a fan of one, is actually quite fun to drive, sort of like Valencia before it. Dull to watch, fun to drive. So we may be able to have some good times here. We also seem to have decent pace in the practice session, so a top 10 should be doable. Our aim is going to be 8th place, with a view to maybe picking up a big scalp.
Welcome back to Sochi. We're about to be joining the action down in the pit lane as the cars get ready to embark on their qualifying runs. It's really difficult to predict who might come out on top here in Sochi today. I really believe it can be anyone's race this weekend. But am I just sitting on the fence, or do you agree with that?
We don't need to push too hard in this session. We should have the pace to qualify easily.
Often they're asking the hypotheticals as we sit in the garage for Q1. In Russia, we're into the real business end of the season. Pacing practice wasn't bad at all, actually. This place very much reminds me a lot of Valencia. It's just very open, very free, very fast, very flowing, very fun to drive, and, quite honestly, somewhere we might actually have a decent rate of pace with. So, we're going to get out nice and early, get a lap in. Hopefully, we won't have to push too hard to make it into the next session. Look at our fastest lap then in Q1. Really wide to start the lap, but our first flying lap proved to be our best. Turn 1 is just flat as you run through there and get the DRS open and heading down towards the real first turn, first proper braking point anyway into turn 2. That's our inside. Spooks us a little bit, which means we run pull wide after it takes some of the run off, but no harm, no foul as we run to turn 3. Got another car not far in front of us. Hopefully we can avoid any instance with that one, or at least pick up a little bit of a tone from it. Car just wants to drift through some of these corners in the mid part of the lap as we close up to the back of Kimi Raikkonen just ahead. Try and use the Ferrari to give us a little tow through the next part of the lap. You can really abuse the curves here, really cut across them, and that we're doing to great effect through this lap. Now, going to track the Ferrari all the way up through this DRS zone. Again, a little wide car, feeling a little slimy, but not too bad in the end. And the Ferrari backs off as we're on fire, heading up to another heavy braking point in this slightly Mickey Mouse final sector of the lap, but it's feeling pretty good thus far. And this is where we've been quick all the way through practice in sector 3. We keep it well with it back to the track here, and then we're nice and early on the turn, get apex just right through these couple of corners, got to avoid the barrier on the side and clip it, and continue on into the penultimate corner where we've actually been a little bit leery all the way through the weekend, but not too bad there. Nice and early on the turn into the final corner, and a good lap to start the session. Is it enough to get through?
Poor showing there from Fernando Alonso. The team were expecting a top 10 qualifying performance, but he's been knocked out in Q1.
Well, contrasting fortunes then for the pair of McLarens as we end the session third, just less than 0.2 behind Nico Rosberg, a 10th clear of Lewis Hamilton, while knocked out Marcus Ericsson, Fernando Alonso, Felipe Nasr, Will Stevens and Roberto Merri. There's pace in some of these other guys still. They all went on the primes, the Williams, the Red Bull, the Ferrari and the Mercedes. So it might not be the same in Q2 or Q3, but we got strong enough pace here, I think, to fight with some of these guys near the front. Let's cross to that session, see if it's as easy as we hope. Q2 then, and Q1 was a fairly simple matter. We were very, very fast, but the top 4 teams all ran the primes, so we might still find ourselves hanging on to get into Q3. But I feel like we've got pace here. This is a fun track to drive, and we seem to be doing all right speed-wise. So let's get out there, see if we can make ourselves just as comfortable by the end of Q2. This is now being Q2 then, very much like the first session. It's the first thing that we do that sets the tone for qualifying. Easy through turn 1, as you'd expect. Nobody this time on the inside to spook us, heading down towards turn 2, so hopefully we can get a better run through there on the brakes just at the right time, take just the right amount of curb on the entry. We take that slight cut through the second part, nice and clean. Round turn 3, keeping as close to the apex as possible before heavy braking into 4. Again, clipping just enough of the apex on the inside. We do go a little bit wide, keep our foot in there, enough runoff to do that. Decent first set of time. Waiting to get on the throttle through that corner there, but actually not too bad in terms of scrubbing off too much speed. Same here, just waiting to get on the throttle, but again, keeping us well within bounds and keeping the pace up as we head towards the DRS back straight. This corner though has been a bit of a problem. We do run quite wide, but keep our foot in it once again, just to kind of avoid any issues, I'd say, with us costing ourselves a good time, heading up towards the final sector of the lap. Nice and heavy on the bikes. Took a couple of bites at the cherry to get the angle right for entry, but we got through. Not too bad at all. Running along the outside apex and maybe a touch early in the turning on that left, which compromises our run through the right hander. Just avoid the wall on the exit as well as we get to the come up that corner. Take a little bit too much speed through here and have to run on the apex, but manages to swing through the final corner. Good baseline, good enough to get through again.
Qualifying 2 is now finished. We've got a short break now before the cars appear again for the top 10 shootout.
As expected, we just about sneak through. I say just, actually, we're about 8/10 of a second clear of Sergio Perez and nearly a full second clear of Nico Hülkenberg, who's the first of our eliminated drivers. Grosjean, Verstappen, Sainz and Maldonado join him. As I thought, Ferrari, Mercedes, Williams, Red Bull all slapped on at the option tyres and went a lot faster. We've given it everything we can, though, and I think there's still a little bit of time to be extracted. So, hopefully Q3 can see us actually take the fight to some of the guys ahead. In the garage then for the final part of qualifying, something that hasn't actually been that much of a struggle here. I'd say the top 6 or 7 probably out of reach, but I think we can mix it with the likes of Perez and maybe even Kvyat at his home race. Hopefully though we can shave a little bit more time off and see if we can make our way a bit further up the field. So let's go give it our best. And finally the fastest lap in Q3, a bit wide on the start of the lap as we have been through all of qualifying so far. This one though took a little bit longer to get a good lap in, but we're heading down through turn 1 and then in towards turn number 2. Circuit nice and clear in front of us, no cars to put us off. A little late on the turn in, which actually compromises our run through the second part of the corner, but we're into this long left-hander, still with a fair amount of pace in hand. Heavy on the brakes, trying to keep it within the lines this time. Still a little wide, but not as off into the run-off as we were in the last session. Down in the first sector at our best time, but only marginally. We take a fair amount of entry curve then, get away with maybe a little bit of a cut through another kind of squarish right-hander before we head into this left by one of the Winter Olympic stadiums. Keeping it well within the track lines this time around. And this corner just onto the back straight, running very wide. A little bit of a warning, but no invalidation, so we just keep going. Keep our foot in it as we head up towards the end of the second sector. Up on our best time so far, and we know that the final sector is somewhere we can make up an awful lot of time. Taking the tightest line through the right-left, and very much the same here into this left-hander. Not running too wide, able to just clip the apex on the right and the exit, bounce off the barrier a little bit, but the car undamaged and keep going. Not one corner, throwing it through a little bit wide, not too bad. Gives us a good angle into the final corner, across the line. Just improving.
Hamilton provided us with the performance of the day here in qualifying. Fastest lap means he's on pole for tomorrow's race.
He's really been able to connect all the dots on that lap. It was just inch perfect. What a performance. And will definitely be the driver to beat on Sunday.
I said we might be able to fight with some of the front-running teams, and so it proved. We're marginally behind Bottas. We are ahead of Massa, Ricardo Perez and Kvyat. We are P6 on the grid for the Russian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton taking pole, but only just ahead of Rosberg, and then it's Vettel, Raikkonen and Bottas. And Hamilton needs a result and needs Rosberg to have a really bad race to keep his championship alive, because Rosberg, with not so many rounds left this season, is starting to get away. But that's all going to unfold around the Sochi Autodrome. Let's cross to the race, see who comes out on top.
Here we are in Russia, in the scenic Black Sea resort of Sochi, where this purpose-built track is described as one of the most impressive tracks on the Formula One calendar. Welcome to the Russian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton starts on pole today, and with the blistering pace he's shown all weekend long, it shouldn't come as a surprise if he leaves the opposition in his wake during the race today.
He has clean air in front of him, so we'll be hoping he can create a gap over the first few laps. If the cars in second and third can keep close until the first round of pit stops, then they may be able to take advantage on the undercut.
The dominant force so far this season has been Mercedes. They have the best car and two of the best drivers on the grid. It's hard to not see them maintaining their ascendancy throughout the rest of the season.
Mercedes have such a great setup, they have great leadership, and in Lewis and Nico they have two drivers that are capable of winning the World Championship. I guess their hardest challenge is trying to manage the intense competition between their drivers.
On the grid then here in Sochi in P6. Not actually a shock considering the pace we had in practice. The race could be a very different matter though. We are surrounded by the likes of Williams, Ferrari and Red Bull, Mercedes. You can just about see up ahead. They should probably scarper and have their own little race at the front. For me, points have got to be an option here, surely. They've got to be on the table. This is seemingly a place where we've got a decent amount of pace to burn. We are 30 points off the best season total in Blue Flag Bandits, and after this we've only got America, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi to go. Mexico, Kota, we might struggle. Brazil, we might be able to actually pull something out of the bag, and Abu Dhabi has been a bit hit and miss through this series. We've thrown away points, we've taken victories, and we scraped our only points of last season there. So I'm going to need decent scores to be able to pull alongside or even ahead of that Virgin Racing team total from 2010, or McLaren are just going to have to settle for second best for now. So aim is to try and maintain. Let's see if we can keep hold of P6 and secure some points. If the AI have another race like Japan or a couple of others earlier in the season where they've taken extra stops, Singapore I think was another one, then maybe we can secure something a little bit higher. But we're really going to have to work for it. Let's get those 5 red lights on then, and out again for the 2015 Russian Grand Prix.
You should have some space going into the first corner, so try to keep it tidy.
Red light is on and away we go in Sochi. We will have space in the first corner because this is turn 1. It's the run down to turn 2 where we could lose out. Perez, Massa through. Hulkenberg's going to have a go as well, around the outside towards 2. We'll get late on the brakes. There's a bit of contact with Perez and Massa on the outside, but we regain 6th. So Mercedes, Ferrari, and then Valtteri Bottas in 5th. I'm going to stay with these guys for a little bit, you know. Consider the move. Decided against it. Consider the move. There's a little bit of contact, such as how the physics operate on this game. Drops us off Raikkonen a little bit. Go this time now, and we're through. We're into P5. Contact with Bottas though. Get away, or can we close back up? Well, Sainz has been where we're best. P5s was a gain at the end of lap 1. Did take a little bit of contact, but we're undamaged and still running. And with Bottas and Massa fighting, we're actually pulling away from the pack.
Raikkonen's in the pit lane. Raikkonen is in the pit lane.
Giving Raikkonen first to blink before we move into 4th. Should be time to pit at the end of this one.
You've moved into P4, 4th place now.
We're going to be able to do enough to stay in front of the chasing pack. I don't know. Tyres are feeling pretty ropey. We come then just as Ricciardo and Massa close up on us, but be careful with this pit entry, and that's why. We'll just about make it in. Ricciardo follows us. Massa too. Just left. We'll get out ahead of Ricciardo and Massa at least. Kvyat's gone through. Fernando goes as well. One or two more might pass us. Bottas is going to jump us. Tentative there into the next corner, but we are out ahead of Perez at least. Can we close on Bottas, I wonder? Can stop later. Came up with prime tyres, is dropping just in front of us. Let's do us a favour. With Valtteri Bottas as we run wide once again. Be careful of those track limits warnings.
At least before you start feeling too many tyre issues. They seem in good condition for the time being.
We have leaders in the pits. We're a little wide around the final couple of corners. We'll move forward. We're due to come at the end of this one. To 4th as it stands.
Raikkonen has come into the pits.
Come then for our second and final stop. Looks like Ricciardo's following us in. We're a bit more cautious entering the pits this time. Ricciardo is in. We'll go by.
Go, exit now. We're racing on the exit.
Kvyat goes past. Bottas will go by as well. Can we jump Massa?
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
Looks like we have. Kvyat yet to pit, and at P6. Kvyat is in, so we will regain 6th. Back to Ricciardo, so maybe we can just hold him at arm's length to the end.
That's P6, P6.
Fairly lonely race, this one. And our final lap of this Russian Grand Prix, and intermittent audio issues aside, which you may not have picked up on. It's been a fairly stress-free race. We were jumped by Bottas in the first pits after a little skirmish and a couple of corners, but the top 4 got away from us. But we were quick enough to pull away from the guys behind as they battled each other. And ever since, we've kind of kept people at arm's length. Really had to work too hard for this one. As Ricciardo and Massa do start to close into the final lap, but knowing that we're faster in the final sector means that we should be able to just keep them back, and we may, if we're quick enough, catch Bill Stevens for DRS as well for an extra boost. So at least that's something. DRS zone for Stevens. Rosberg wins though, as Stevens goes across right in the way. We'll past the man, I think. Rosberg wins and will extend his championship lead. Just 4 rounds to go after this one. We'll make our way through the final few corners. Ricciardo being held up by the man. We just have to navigate 2 more and we'll finish where we started. Claim some more points. 6th in Russia.
What a car Mercedes have this year, as shown again today with a brilliant race victory. After all that excitement, it's time for a lie down, I think. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye until the next race.
Nico Rosberg takes the win ahead of Kimi Räikkönen and Hamilton third, meaning that Rosberg has a 10-point swing. Vettel finishes 4th ahead of Bottas. We hold 6th, fairly comfortably ahead of Ricciardo, Massa, Kvyat, Perez, who all take points. Verstappen, Grosjean, Hulkenberg, Alonso, Sainz, Ericsson, Maldonado, Nasser, Stevens and Merry all complete the race. All 20 cars finish. It's happened quite a lot this season. We haven't had that many DNFs. What does that do for the championship standings, though? Rosberg 41 clear, that 10-point swing puts him with 100 points left in the driving seat, with just the United States, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi to go. Vettel in third is a further 28 behind, so he might be out of the championship hunt. Raikkonen right on the fringes of being eliminated. Bottas is now no longer able to mathematically win the title ahead of Massa, Ricciardo, Kvyat. We gain another 8 points, take us to 58. We're 10 behind Kvyat, but 30 clear of Perez. So 9th spot is possibly locked down. 8th is something we can aim for as the season finishes. Hulkenberg is down in 12th. He's still behind Fernando Alonso by a single point. Then it's Maldonado, Sainz, Grosjean, Verstappen, Nasser and Ericsson before your 2 manners bring up the rear with no points. While in the Constructors, Ferrari now slipped to 109 behind Mercedes. That battle is almost done as well. Williams could still be a factor, but they are slipping further behind. Red Bull are 4th. We remain 5th, on to 84 points, with Force India 6th, and it's Lotus, Toro Rosso, Sauber and Manor with their 0 at the back. And yeah, quite a nonplussed, or non-event of a Russian Grand Prix, but we do come home with points, something we should have done maybe in the first season here. So that means Russia, another circuit where we scored points at least once this series, admittedly only in our 2nd Russian Grand Prix, but points nonetheless. And as I've mentioned, as we got that final lap underway, some intermittent audio issues crept up here. They crept up in Hungary a few rounds ago as well. Hopefully I'll have them fixed before we head into the run-in for the final 4 rounds of this 2015 season. I'll be sad to see the back of the McLaren, even if I'm not sad to see the back of F1 2015. But we've still got one little push to go, and hopefully we can find the 22 points to level up that 2010 point score. But that's all to come, starting at the Circuit of the Americas next time out. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. I shall see you for the next one in Texas. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.